Hi YouTube, this is the Peaceful Prepper. Today I'm going to talk about water storage, part of my making room for preps in an apartment. And I've actually never personally experienced city water being shut off, but storing water is really one of the holy grails of prepping. It does not have to be much money. This is not something that needs to be a real financial commitment. I chose to buy a couple of containers, but you see this is all my water right now. I want to build up to 14 gallons, which would be at least a 2-week supply for myself. I think I'm at maybe 11 and a half, and a couple of these I need to rotate out. I pulled them all together for this video. And this is where there's a real advantage to living alone, because as soon as you have 1, 2, 3 more people involved, you're double, triple, quadrupling your need for water. So the water itself, I just use tap water. So the expense, as I mentioned, can really be minimal. And I have a combination of gallons that I bought. I have, you can buy all different sizes of containers. Those happen to be 2.5 gallons rather than the 5-gallon ones, because since they're smaller, I can store them more easily. And also I'm on the 3rd floor, and anything that I need to take to my car, I'd need to carry up and down. And if I want to leave in a hurry and take some water, a 5-gallon would be quite heavy to carry with additional things, whereas I can grab 2.5 gallons of water easily and not make a second trip. So the time commitment in terms of storing water, again, is not particularly difficult. You put the water together initially. I've been building it up slowly. Several years ago I started storing 3 gallons of water always, just for the 3-day supply, and I've been building it up since then. And over the next week or two, since I'm focusing on this now, I want to build it up to the 14 gallons. And you need to rotate the water out. And some people choose to do it every 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years. It's a really good idea to rotate. I've certainly left when I just had 3 gallons, would forget about it for 2 years. One of the reasons that I feel a little bit loose about it is I do have ways to purify water. So worst case, and an emergency happens and I need to use this water and some of it is old, I can purify it. I also, when I'm rotating water, really try not to just dump it down the drain and waste it. And there are lots of things you can do with the water instead of just throwing it out. You can cook with it, you can drink it, you can flush your toilet with it, you can water plants. So I just encourage people to consider not just throwing it out when they're rotating it, but actually using it. The big commitment, I think, for people who live in small apartments is the space commitment in storing water, because it's quite a, water takes up quite a bit of space. And again, I'm just trying for 14 gallons. If you're trying to store 28, 50, 100 gallons of water, that can be really difficult to find space for it. I currently am storing it in 3 different places around my apartment. Some's in the kitchen, some is in my front hall closet. In case I need to leave quickly, I can take some water with me, in addition to what I have in my bob. And I store some of it in my bathroom, which is the only room in my apartment that doesn't have windows, and I've decided that if there's some kind of chemical spill and I need to shelter in place and seal myself off for a few hours, that's where I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do a video about that at some point. So you don't need to store the water all in one place, and you can think about what makes the most sense for you. In an apartment, since I don't have a garage, I don't have a basement, I have kind of a paranoia about the possibility that some of these containers could break and leak water into the downstairs apartment. I've had a bad experience in the past and really take every precaution not to have gallons of water spill in my apartment. So I wanted to show you the 2 ways that I'm currently dealing with that, and I'm going to take the water away and show you my current solutions. So I'm using 3 different methods to ease my mind about water leaking, spilling all over my apartment, going into the downstairs apartment. The first is a contractor bag. It's the heavy mill bags. This one is 55 gallons, which is bigger than I need, but it's what I have. And I put both the 2.5 gallon containers in this, just sort of tie the top, slide it under, and there's a good water barrier around them now. The next is I take one of the big pots that I don't use very often, and it fits a couple of, this isn't a very secure thought, but you can put a couple of bottles in there, and it's certainly a very good leak-proof container. And when I need to use it, and I don't use it daily or even weekly, I just take them out while I'm using it. The last is a cooler, and this is the size that will fit the 2-liter bottles upright. And this will hold about 8 liters of water. If you use, everyone talks about using the soda bottle, 2-liter soda bottles. If you use something that has more of a square shape, you'll fit more in here. But I mostly had soda bottles. And then I also use 1-liter bottles because you can fit them in to smaller spaces. So instead of only having 6 liters of water in here, I have 8 liters of water. Then on top, I keep a towel. And this lets me do a couple of things. First, I have a container where I'm keeping the water and don't worry about it leaking. I have a cooler right there in an emergency that I could put things from my freezer, things from my refrigerator, some cold packs, and be able to use that food for several more days. And it will stay better than in the refrigerator itself because it's all close together. I usually have frozen vegetables, frozen fruit with nothing on them. So I have no problem eating sort of frozen peas that have just been thawed rather than cooked. That would be fine with me. The other thing this can be used for, and I think it could be very useful in an emergency, is a thermal cooker. And what you would do is you'd take a pot of whatever you want to cook that should be cooked for longer periods of time. You bring it to a boil, you wrap it in a towel, and as many towels or insulation as need to really fill this up. You close it and you leave it for several hours, and the temperature will drop over time, but it will be cooking it at a moderate to low temperature for much longer, so you use much less fuel. You only are bringing it to a boil once, and it gives you more options in terms of cooking. So those are my 3 techniques that gives me peace of mind that I'm not spilling the water, and helps me keep the water in various places that I'd be, like a hall closet, I'd really worry if there was water pouring out of that. In the kitchen, it's easier to contain, or in the bathroom where I also store some. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Feedback is always really appreciated.